Alphabet just hit a $4 trillion valuation. Apple made a game-changing deal with Google. Iran blocked Starlink during protests. And Meta just announced massive layoffs in their Reality Labs division. From AI wars to chip manufacturing, energy crises to government bans, we've got it all. So stick around until the end because each update is more interesting than the last. Let's jump right in. Alright, let's start with the biggest news of the week, Google's parent company Alphabet. This Monday, Alphabet made history when its market valuation crossed $4 trillion. They are now only the fourth company ever to reach this incredible milestone, joining Nvidia, Microsoft and Apple in this exclusive club. Here's the interesting part. Just a while back, people were worried that Google was falling behind in the AI race. But in 2025, their stock jumped 65%, which was actually the highest among the Magnificent 7 tech stocks. So what caused this massive turnaround? There are three main reasons. First, Google Cloud has become a major growth engine. In the third quarter, revenue jumped 34% and their contracted sales backlog reached a massive $155 billion. This is the same division that people used to overlook. Second, Apple announced they'll be using Google's Gemini models to power their next generation Siri and Apple Intelligence features. This deal is huge and we'll talk about it in detail in our next update. Third, legal relief. In September, a US judge rejected proposals to break up the company, which means Google gets to keep control of its Chrome browser and Android operating system. And here's a fun fact. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway even invested in Alphabet, which is pretty rare because Buffett has historically been cautious about big tech. My honest opinion? This turnaround was well deserved. Google has consistently improved their AI models. Their Gemini 3 model is getting impressive reviews, and they've proven they're not just a search engine anymore. They're a complete AI powerhouse. Now let's talk about that Apple-Google deal I just mentioned. On Monday, Apple and Google officially announced they've signed a multi-year partnership. Under this deal, Apple's next-generation foundation models will be based on Google Gemini, and this will power the improved Siri launching in 2026. In a joint statement, Apple said, and I quote, "After careful evaluation, we determined that Google's technology provides the most capable foundation for Apple foundation models." Here are the key points of this deal. It's a multi-year collaboration. Apple's AI features will use Gemini models and Google's cloud technology. Privacy will be maintained on Apple's devices and their private cloud compute. The deal isn't exclusive. Apple is still keeping OpenAI's ChatGPT integrated, and reports suggest Apple might pay Google around $1 billion per year for this deal. Why is this important? Apple's Siri has fallen way behind its competitors. Google Assistant, Alexa, and especially ChatGPT have pulled far ahead. Apple urgently needed to upgrade their AI assistant. Interestingly, Elon Musk expressed concerns about this deal, saying, "This seems like an unreasonable concentration of power for Google, given that they also have Android and Chrome." My take? This is a smart move by Apple. Rather than struggling with their own models, they partnered with an industry leader. But here's my question. Can Apple maintain their privacy promises? Because Google's entire business model is based on data collection. We'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. Our next update is fascinating, and it's all about AI investment strategy. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, revealed in their latest investment directions report that investor focus is shifting in 2026. Instead of investing directly in big tech stocks, people are now preferring energy and infrastructure providers. Here are the survey findings. BlackRock surveyed 732 companies in the EMEA region. Only 20% said they consider large US tech companies their top AI investment choice. Over 50% said they're backing power providers for data centers, and 37% chose infrastructure as their top AI investment choice. What's the reason? Companies like Microsoft, Meta, and Alphabet are in a multi-trillion-dollar race to build new data centers. This is raising concerns about uncertain returns and higher borrowing costs. Ibrahim Kanan, BlackRock's head of core US equity, said, "It's increasingly important to risk manage megacap and AI exposure while also capturing differentiated upside opportunities." Here's an interesting stat. Only 7% of respondents said the AI theme is a market bubble. That means the majority still believe AI investment is solid, but the approach is changing. My opinion on this? This is absolutely the right direction. AI data centers consume massive amounts of energy. If you want to invest in AI growth, it makes sense to invest in energy infrastructure too. This is the classic picks and shovels strategy. Just like during the gold rush, when people preferred to invest in those selling shovels rather than the miners themselves. Now let's talk about a very serious and disturbing update. Malaysia and Indonesia blocked Elon Musk's AI chatbot Grok this week. And now Malaysia has announced they're taking legal action against X and XAI. What exactly happened? Grok's image generation tool was being massively misused. People were generating non-consensual sexual and explicit images, including images of minors. These deepfakes were sexualizing real women and children. The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission said that X only focused on user reporting mechanisms and, quote, failed to address the inherent risks posed by the design and operation of the AI tool. Indonesia was the first country to formally ban Grok on Saturday. Malaysia followed on Sunday, and now on Tuesday, Malaysia announced legal proceedings against X and XAI. The global reaction has been intense. The UK's Ofcom launched an investigation. France reported X to prosecutors and regulators. The European Commission ordered X to retain all Grok-related documents until the end of 2026. India's IT ministry called for action, and US Democratic senators requested Apple and Google to remove X from their app stores. XAI initially posted an apology, saying the content, quote, violated ethical standards and potentially US laws around child sexual abuse material. Then they limited the image generation feature to paying subscribers only. Musk's response? He said, anyone using or prompting Grok to make illegal content will suffer the same consequences. My strong opinion? This is completely unacceptable. AI tools should have proper safeguards before being released. Musk usually positions himself as a free speech absolutist, but when your tool is being used for child exploitation, this isn't just about speech anymore. I fully support these governments taking action. With technology comes responsibility. Let's move to another serious geopolitical update. Massive nationwide protests are happening in Iran, and since January 8th, the government has imposed an almost complete internet blackout. But some Iranians are using Elon Musk's Starlink satellite internet to bypass this blackout. What's the situation? Iran has disconnected its 85 million citizens from the outside world. Internet connectivity dropped by 97%, phone lines are cut, and even domestic services are down. But an estimated 40 to 50,000 Starlink devices were already in Iran illegally, and SpaceX activated Starlink for protesters, temporarily free. Here's the twist. The Iranian government is using advanced jamming technology, likely Russian or Chinese equipment. Cybersecurity expert Amir Rashidi reported that 30 to 80% packet loss is happening on Starlink connections. This is military-grade interference that's never been seen before. The government is also conducting door-to-door operations to seize satellite dishes and Starlink equipment. Possessing Starlink in Iran is illegal and carries 2 years in jail, or worse, espionage charges under corruption on Earth, which can lead to execution. US President Trump said he would speak with Elon Musk to help protesters. But the reality is that Iran's sophisticated jamming has made Starlink largely ineffective. Reports are extremely disturbing. Eyewitnesses saw over 400 bodies at Tehran's Kahrizak Forensic Center. Conservative estimates indicate at least 2,000 people were killed on just January 8th and 9th alone. My take? This is a tragic situation. Internet freedom is a fundamental right, especially during protests. But this also shows that satellite internet isn't a perfect solution against authoritarian governments. The battle between technology and tyranny will continue. My sympathies are with the protesters fighting for democracy and freedom. Let's move to a positive update now. South Korea's SK Hynix, which is Nvidia's main HBM supplier, announced on Tuesday that they're investing $12.9 billion, that's 19 trillion Korean won, in a new advanced chip packaging plant. Here are the key details. The plant will be built in Cheongju City. Construction starts in April, target completion is the end of 2027, and the focus is on high bandwidth memory or HBM chip packaging. What is HBM? These are special memory chips that are critical for AI processors. The chips are vertically stacked to save space and reduce power consumption, which helps handle the massive data volumes in complex AI applications. In terms of market position, SK Hynix is the leader in the HBM market with 61% market share. Samsung Electronics is second with 19% and Micron is third with 20%. The company said, accelerating global competition in AI is driving a sharp rise in demand for AI-focused memory, underscoring the need to respond proactively. Interesting fact, SK Hynix is also weighing a potential US listing after a blockbuster 2025 for its shares in South Korea. An HSBC analyst said, SK Hynix will continue to benefit from a memory supercycle that could last 4 to 5 years. My perspective? This is a smart investment. Memory chips are just as important as processing chips for the AI boom. Nvidia's GPUs are powerful, but without proper memory, they can't do anything. SK Hynix is in a critical position in the supply chain, and this investment will strengthen them even further. Plus, Korea is committed to maintaining its semiconductor manufacturing leadership, which is also geopolitically important. Our next update is about the intersection of US politics and big tech. President Donald Trump announced on social media Monday that Microsoft will make major changes this week to ensure American consumers don't have to pay higher electricity bills because of data centers. Trump wrote, "I never want Americans to pay higher electricity bills because of data centers. Therefore, my administration is working with major American technology companies to secure their commitment to the American people." What's the context here? AI data centers consume massive amounts of power. A Bloomberg analysis showed that wholesale electricity costs near data centers have increased by 267% compared to 5 years ago. And this has become a political issue. Soaring electricity bills have become a polling issue before the midterm elections. Democrats are accusing the Trump administration of not addressing the problem. Trump countered by saying electricity prices increased by 30% during Joe Biden's time. Here's an interesting conflict. Trump champions AI data centers in the race against China. He signed an executive order to ease the approval process for large-scale AI data centers. But the resulting surge in utility bills could threaten the Republican majority in Congress. Microsoft's response? There are no clear details yet on what exactly these major changes will be. My opinion? This is a complex issue. On one hand, America needs to stay ahead in the AI race. On the other hand, common people shouldn't have to pay the price. What's the solution? Renewable energy investment and smarter grid infrastructure. Data centers should invest in their own power generation, solar, wind, nuclear. Plus, the government should provide subsidies for renewable transition. Simply blaming tech companies isn't the solution. We need a holistic approach. Now let's talk about a clarification from Nvidia. Last week, Reuters reported that Nvidia was demanding full upfront payment from Chinese customers for its latest H200 AI chips, with no option for refunds or changes. But on Tuesday, an Nvidia spokesperson clarified, Nvidia does not require upfront payment for H200 chips and would never require customers to pay for products they do not receive. What's the background story? The H200 is Nvidia's latest data center AI processor. China has placed over 2 million orders for it in 2026. Washington recently gave approval to sell H200 to China, but Beijing's stance was unclear. China wants complete self-reliance in their AI stack. Plus, there were concerns that the chips might be used in military or sensitive infrastructure. Sources had told Reuters that standard terms included advance payment, but sometimes deposits were also allowed. But allegedly for the H200, terms were strict given regulatory uncertainty. Nvidia said this is incorrect. There is no full upfront payment requirement. Reality check. China's share of data center revenue is opaque, so the exact impact is difficult to gauge. Plus, geopolitical tensions between the US and China are complicating chip sales. My take on this? Journalism has a responsibility to report accurately. If Reuters' initial report was inaccurate, that's concerning. But at the same time, the China market is complicated for Nvidia. There's regulatory uncertainty, geopolitical tensions, and domestic competition. Whatever the payment terms, China remains a crucial but also high-risk market. Now let's talk about Meta's latest layoffs. The New York Times reported on Monday that Meta is planning around 10% cuts in its Reality Labs division. That's roughly 1,500 employees out of 15,000 total in that division. What is Reality Labs? It's Meta's VR and AR division. They're responsible for Quest VR headsets, they're developing metaverse technologies, they're working on Ray-Ban smart glasses, and they're creating VR-based social networks. Why is this happening? Mark Zuckerberg asked executives for budget reductions in late 2025. The company is shifting priorities from metaverse products towards next-generation AI. The financial reality is also harsh. Reality Labs has recorded over $70 billion in losses since 2020. In the most recent quarter, they had $4.4 billion in losses on just $470 million in revenue. When will the announcement happen? It's expected this week. CTO Andrew Bosworth has called an all-hands meeting for Wednesday, calling it the most important meeting of the year. Where will the cuts happen? Primarily in VR headsets and VR-based social network teams. The Ray-Ban smart glasses team will be largely spared because that product is gaining traction. Here's the context. In December, there were reports that Meta was considering 30% budget cuts for the Metaverse group. So 10% is relatively moderate compared to those initial discussions. My honest opinion? Zuckerberg went all in on the metaverse. He changed the company's name from Facebook to Meta, invested billions, but didn't get the adoption he expected. Reality has set in. AI is the hot thing now, and the company has to pivot. The metaverse concept isn't necessarily dead, but it's not the imminent future Zuck imagined. But 1,500 people are losing their jobs, which is unfortunate. Hopefully Meta can adjust them into other divisions. Here's some positive news from Africa. Morocco has announced that they're targeting a $10 billion boost to their GDP from artificial intelligence by 2030. Morocco's current GDP is around $170 billion, so this would be roughly a 6% boost. What's the plan? Minister Amal El Falah Segrouchni revealed this at a Monday conference in Rabat. Their AI Made in Morocco strategy is comprehensive. For infrastructure, they're building sovereign data centers. They're expanding cloud services. They're upgrading the fiber optic network. They're building a 500 megawatt renewable energy powered data center in Dakhla city. And they're creating AI centers linked to universities and the private sector. For workforce development, they're training 200,000 graduates in AI skills by 2030, and they're creating 50,000 AI-related jobs. For investment, 11 billion dirhams, that's $1.2 billion, is allocated for the digital transformation strategy from 2024 to 2026. This will cover AI initiatives and fiber optic expansion. For partnership, Morocco has signed a deal with France's Mistral AI to develop generative AI tools. The minister said, "We want to turn Morocco into a future excellence hub in AI and data science." The government is also preparing AI legislation to ensure ethical deployment. My perspective? This is an ambitious goal, but it's achievable. Morocco is strategically well positioned. They are close to Europe, have strong submarine cable connections, and have good renewable energy potential. There's competition to become a tech hub in Africa, and Morocco is making the right moves. Training 200,000 graduates is the most important part. You need to develop that talent pool. Best of luck to them. Alright everyone, those were the biggest tech updates this week. From Alphabet's $4 trillion milestone to Apple's Gemini deal. From energy infrastructure investments to serious AI misuse concerns. From geopolitical tensions affecting technology to massive chip investments and corporate restructuring. What a week it's been in the tech world. So, which update did you find most interesting? Was it the Apple-Google partnership, the disturbing Grok situation, or maybe Morocco's ambitious AI plans? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next one.